It is 33 degrees out here and I'm standing in front of this beautiful building called the Washingtonian. But I'm very excited because guess what? I'm about to encounter a gentleman who is the powerhouse behind the team called Rohrstream. They are big with everything mortgaging, everything real estate, both in Africa, in Europe, and in America. I mean, they are a powerhouse in the entire DMV when it comes to everything real estate. Come with me as we go into uncover him on the 7th episode of the Everyday University and to hear more about his struggles, his successes, and the legacy he's keeping. Follow me. Great to meet you, Brad.
Great to meet you as well. You ready to go upstairs?
Absolutely. Yes, bro. If you're just tuning in or watching us for the very first time, would love your support. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment into our comment sections. Let us know how we're doing so far. Let us know what ideas you have. Let us know what kind of guests you'd like for us to bring on the team. And as well, give us your feedback if we're doing well. As always, we look forward to deliver to you the best of your support to us. We don't underappreciate, we don't take your subscriptions for nothing. And once again, thank you for being a support system to the Everyday University podcast. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everyday University podcast. As you always know, this is the only podcast where legends speak and dreams take flight. Today, I'm excited because we'll be meeting with the powerhouse in the real estate and many other facets. This is episode 7, and brace up so we can unravel the mysteries this guy is doing with his know-how. Once again, welcome to the Everyday University podcast.
Hey, it's absolutely a pleasure to be here. Happy to talk to you, and I'm excited to see where this conversation goes.
Absolutely. I have been waiting for this day for quite a while. We met a couple of months back, and thank God we're here today.
Yeah, we met, I believe, at Stan Lyon's event, who is one of the best tailors in the Washington, D.C. area. Yes. Makes great suits, and I think if you go to him, you'll be significantly more fashionable when you leave.
It's evident. You are a fashionable guy, and there's no other place to have met you other than at Stan Lyon's place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what is the Rohrstream all about? Are you guys a real estate agency, a mortgage agency? What is the team all about?
Yeah, the Rohrstream is the holding company for everything that's underneath of us. So it used to just be for our renovation business, where we would buy, renovate, and sell properties. We added a real estate brokerage component to that, but eventually we added a mortgage company and a development company that does the work in West Africa.
Wow. So the team comprises of people of different backgrounds?
Yeah, so we have people who work with our mortgage company. We have people who work with international development. We have people who just work on the renovations themselves here in the DC and Baltimore area.
Wow. Wow. When I went to the Rohrstream's website, I could see that you guys deal with DC, Maryland, Virginia, and Pennsylvania, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
So does it mean you have people from your team that are licensed in all those different states?
Yeah, the Pennsylvania side is mainly for our investment real estate. So we have ski condos that are in the Mercerburg area, that's Ski Whitetail. We have an apartment complex in Philadelphia. And so that's really been our outreach to the Pennsylvania area.
Wow, okay, that's impressive. So for the Rohrstream, do you guys deal with specifically all things real estate, or is it specifically some kind of luxurious buildings and stuff like that? Because when I went to the website, I saw that you guys have done a lot of luxury building related kind of real estate.
Yeah, so there is a certain component that we have that does the luxury houses. That's a fancy word for big houses.
Big houses.
That's really what it means when we say luxury. But we have our sales staff that does everything from $100,000 condos on up.
All right. For condos and big buildings, I'll say, is the process of buying those the same as buying a regular house?
Fundamentally, it's identical. So when you're looking at purchasing a condo or a Potomac mansion, it's basically the same process. It's the same title law. Everything is done almost identically.
Okay. We're looking at a team that does so well. I know you guys have multiple awards that we can't even start making mention of. That's evident that you guys are doing an amazing job within the DMV. The goal of the Everyday University is there are a lot of people out there. We have so many, the younger generation, they're looking for to learn from people like you. You guys have done a lot of things. Now you guys are successful. And the best, the least we can do is to pass this information to them so upcoming generation can learn. The Rohrstream is bare on your shoulders, I would say. And did you kind of have a mentor before coming up with this team?
No, absolutely. So when we were starting in the real estate industry, you learn from people who are basically in the same field. But ultimately, the problem with real estate is that the manner in which you acquire clients is changing all the time. The manner by which you process the clients and find them in the house, it's changing all the time. When I came in real estate, we were still using a terminal system where you had to go into the office, log in, print out papers, and then hopefully that would meet the client's needs. That's all changed. So even if someone had 40 years of experience in real estate, that means absolutely nothing. What is important is that you follow the metrics as they exist today. You follow the best practices as of today. There are fundamentals that will stay the same regardless whether we're in the 1920s or today. But so much has changed that, in a sense, a young person can be at an advantage because they don't have the ingrained habits of 40 years ago. And so we're seeing so many people in every aspect of the real estate industry, whether they're developing properties in Ghana, whether they are doing residential sales in America, whether they have a mortgage company. So many young people are absolutely leapfrogging the previous generation because they're more in tune with what the current market is and what the best practices are, whereas people are still, trying to send out postcards and find business that way.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting to know. So the younger generation shouldn't be scared about people saying, "Oh,
no, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Being young is a complete advantage. The advantage that the older generation had was that cost of living was a lot lower when they were starting their business, starting their practice. It's way harder for a young person to start a business when they got $3,000 for rent. Cars are significantly more expensive. Healthcare is more expensive. There's a lot more barriers that can kind of keep them in a job. However, if they can break past that part, I think that just having more energy, having more modern knowledge is going to allow them, I think they could beat me very easily if they can get through those initial phases.
Wow. All right. How old is the Rohrstream?
So it technically incorporated in 2002. So it goes back a way, but it's gone under a lot of iterations since then. We didn't expect, when we were just buying houses and fixing them up, that we would hire real estate sales agents to sell them properties. What we did originally is the reason we started even doing brokerage is we had a lot of tenants, and the tenants were great until they decided to buy a house. Okay. And our thought was, well, if they're buying a house, why aren't they buying a house with us? They already have a relationship with us. So we just said to the tenants, whenever you're ready to move, we're going to take care of you and make you a homeowner. Okay. And so we had all these renters. They all, they paid their rental time, good people. And when they went to buy a house of their own, we were able to service them in that regard.
Wow. So the Rohrstream is not just a real estate agency, it's a brokerage on its own?
The Rohrstream fundamentally is just the holding company for everything that we do. So our development company that works in Ghana is under Rohrstream. Our mortgage company is under Rohrstream. The brokerage side is under Rohrstream. And the domestic buy and sell houses, it's all under Rohrstream.
Wow. Okay. I now see the definition of a holding company right there. Wow. Now let's travel to Africa. Come
all right, let's go. That's where I want to go, right?
I know. Okay, let's go to Africa. What took you to Africa, first of all?
Well, there was a period in my life where I was going through a situation. Okay. And while I was going through that situation, I was invited to go out to Africa just to see the continent with one of my friends. Okay. And I was absolutely blown away really by how quickly it was developing, the luxury amenities and the freedom. And that's like one of the things that I think when people come to Africa that is surprising to them is just how much freedom that you have. Okay. You don't have to sign a form to do to do an activity. If you want to go and rent a horse and go up a trail, there's not a million forms to fill out. They just say, you know how to ride? Sure. There you go. And so you don't feel like someone's looking over your shoulder every second of the day. And if you've only been in America, it's like you'll think, does that make such a big difference? And it really does. It makes a huge difference.
Wow.
When you experience that for the first time.
Wow. Wow. What other countries in Africa besides Ghana?
So spent a lot of time in Cote d'Ivoire, mainly Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana is where I was at. We've traveled through a few other places, but where we spent probably 95% of our time was right there.
Would I say your French was polished in Cote d'Ivoire?
Oh my goodness. So I had lived in Paris when I was younger.
Oh.
And I struggled to speak any French. And don't make me speak French now, not on camera.
I'm not gonna.
But
Let's see how
I will say that one of the differences between French speaking West and Central Africa and being in Paris is I think it's a lot easier to learn the language when you're in Africa because people make much more of an effort to understand you. If you were to say to a person in Paris, just bonjour, est-ce que tout va bien? And you don't say it perfect.
Yes.
They'll act like they didn't even hear you.
Absolutely.
But in Africa, they'll make that effort and it encourages you to speak more and more. And they don't switch to English instantly.
That's true.
Which is, if you're trying to immerse yourself in a language, particularly French, you should immerse yourself in West Africa, not in Paris, because it's almost impossible to immerse yourself because everyone wants to speak English there.
Wow. 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 Okay. That's interesting to know. Now, being in, let's say, Ghana specifically, what is the encounter that you had that triggered the move or the engagement into real estate in Ghana?
So you get to talking to people.
Yes.
And one of the things that, when we started in real estate, when we started considering doing it in West Africa, at first I was just talking with some of the real estate developers. We were just meeting over dinner and there was no pretense that I was going to do anything with them at all. No pretense whatsoever. But when I started talking through what we did in America to maximize our sales, how we handled clients, how we did our CRMs, our databases, they're like, well, you could help us out with that. And I said, well, I don't have much else better to do. And they offered me a salary, which was good for Ghana.
Okay.
Maybe not comparable to America.
Okay.
But I didn't really want to go back to America at the time. And to be frank, the whole country was shut down then anyway. It was the beginning of the COVID time period.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was a lot more open in Ghana than it was in America. I didn't have much motivation to come back during that time period. So we worked, I started working with the Montgomery Gulf Estates in Ghana.
Yes.
And we did really, really well. And it made me a true believer. Just the quality of the product that we were putting out. And I realized that the house that was $250,000 US in Ghana was comparable, if not better, to the multi-million-dollar houses that we had in, say, like a Potomac, Maryland. And so I was very hooked. I absolutely loved my time working there. And I still work with the developments today, and I still meet with the diaspora buyers when they're from America, and we do the initial consultation, actually right here in this office.
Wow. I asked you this interesting question. A typical African man loves to buy upfront. Like if I see a house, I want to buy that house. I bring in the cash, I buy it. How do you guys manage with buyers from Africa who don't want to do financing and they just want to buy it upfront? Is the process of buying the same as compared to here?
So when you're buying a house in America, if you're saying if they're buying in America with money from Africa, almost identical. Okay. It has to go to an American bank account. Once it's been there for 60 days, it's considered seasoned, meaning they've checked for money laundering.
Yes.
You can buy whatever you'd like to. America will always take your money.
Okay. But in this country, is it a normal process, or do you guys encounter it a lot when people buy houses cash, like buy it upfront?
It depends on the price point. So under $1 million, that rarely happens outside of investors who are paying cash for houses they want to fix up for whatever reason. But when you get into $2 million and above, it becomes very common for buyers to purchase with cash.
Like upfront?
There's so much money here. Yes, upfront. When you get to the big boy houses, it's all cash there.
Whoa. There's plenty of money out there.
In DC?
Yes.
Oh, they're paid too much. But I'm not going to complain about it.
In the millions of dollars, and they paid off.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. I want to buy a house cash in the upcoming future. All right. So now, in Ghana, What are the challenges that you guys encounter when it comes to dealing with real estate? We have the government to deal with. We have many other aspects when it comes to the ecosystem of Ghana. What are the common challenges that you guys encounter as
Oh,
compared to here?
government's easy to work with in Ghana for development. Oh, they are so easy. I mean, it's a common law system. It's very similar to the UK, and it's fairly similar to America. And as long as you tip people for good service,
Yes.
the forms get filled out very quickly and approvals come fast.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. So you guys don't have any challenges or any pushbacks from...
No, it's nothing. It's not like in America.
Yeah.
In America, there's heavy restrictions on development. And what
Yes.
ends up happening is that because we have extensive zoning laws in America,
Yes.
people all want their asset, their house, to go up in value. And so what do? They always protest new construction. And it's one of those things where it has over time driven up the price artificially for American houses, which are, compared to what we have in West Africa, they're not well built. They are drywall, they are like made out of paper. They look like paper houses to me, particularly when I see them into construction. I think that the value in American real estate is really artificial, and it's driven by a big restriction on the construction of new houses, but we don't have that in West Africa. If you've got the money to build a house and you know how to navigate the system, which isn't that complicated, you can build. If you wanted to start a big 200-unit development in Ghana, it's now January the 3rd.
Yes.
We could be breaking ground by April.
Wow.
We could have things secured. We could have the land put together. We could have the contractors together. We would be breaking ground by April. It would be 1 quarter. Now, you try to do that here in Washington, D.C., you're looking at a 3-year process.
It's going to take a while.
It's just hard. It's hard, and it's intentional. It's intentional because local homeowners want to push the value of their houses up. And if that means that they drive the next generation into debt that they can never pay off, so be it. I want the value of my house to go up. And so when people, to me, I hate to be so crass about it. I think it's a scam. And it's a scam of the older generation scamming the younger generation. We're going to stop you from building houses so that our houses are more expensive so that we can retire, even though we're leaving you in a lot of debt. And even though the house is essentially a paper house, it doesn't take more than a couple weeks to build this style of property if the government's not getting in the way. Like, you know how hard it is to build a concrete house? I can tell you this. So when you're doing a concrete house, you got to pour cement. You got to wait for the cement to dry. You have to build each structure. It takes a while to build an African-style house. It's like 6 to 12 months, and that's us rushing. To build an American-style house where you're just doing wood framing.
Yes.
I mean, depending on how much workers you want to put at it, it could take less than a month to get it completely done. Now, it doesn't work out that way because they always slow walk the process. You've got the inspectors.
Yeah.
You've got, and a lot of new home developments.
Yes.
They might have 100 houses. If they have 20 workers in that whole site, that's a lot. They don't like to keep a lot of people on staff. And so what they do is they release them a lot of times in these phases, in limited phases and sub-phases.
Okay.
So that they can just keep the low-cost workers, working at full capacity, but that's where it takes 6 months to build an American house. It really doesn't take that time period. It's just when you're not working on it, it doesn't get done.
Wow.
So
now, talking about homeowners restricting land development around where they already bought homes, how does the process work? Is it like through homeowners associations? How do they restrict?
No. So whenever there's going to be a proposal for a new home development, first phase that has to go through is that they have to go through zoning. Just make sure that zoning works. And then they have to secure building rights. Now, after they've gotten zoning and building rights, it goes to a community hearing. And that's where you'll see those big white signs saying that we're going to have a hearing on the redevelopment of this land. And you're going to have the oldest, most geriatric crowd you've ever seen in your life. They will come there in their walkers, whatever they have to do to get there, to tell you how this is going to destroy our community if we build houses like this. And the local government does not like affordable housing. And there's a reason for that. See, if we built affordable housing. People could afford to have kids. Kids cost local government a lot of money. Just sending them to school, it's $12,000 to $14,000 per student. You have a family with 4 kids, it's close to $50,000 a year it's going to cost the local government. Now imagine if that house was $200,000 and they're collecting $2,000 in property taxes per year. The local government is getting $2,000, spending $50,000. They don't want your affordable house. They don't want it. What they want is either $800 million plus houses where they can at least collect $15,000 a year in property taxes, or they want to shove them all into condos. What they don't want is that middle ground houses. You know that American style house from the 1950s? You know, the kind of small and a big piece of land, the place where you could raise a family with not too much cost.
Yes.
Can't get that done. It will be rejected every single time.
Wow. Okay. That gives me a good understanding now of how homeowners can restrict land development based off of.
Yeah, but if we want to go to Pequasi, we want to build a house, it costs us $40,000 to build the house. We want to sell it for $60,000. We can do that all day. There is no one in the Ghana government who's going to stop us from doing that. So you see the difference here.
Very receptive to development.
Of course, because the more that they develop, the more that they can bring outside investment in. So they're thinking about it completely different, right? In a sense, West Africa is thinking long-term, whereas the Western world is thinking very short-term. And you can actually see the economic impacts of this across every developed country that's instituted this type of zoning laws with regards to real estate. I can include Korea, France, UK, America, Canada. The housing cost has gone up so much that people don't afford to have kids. The average age of a home buyer for the first time in America, 40 years. Who's going to raise a kid when they are renting a 2-bedroom apartment? Having kids is the last thing on your mind. And so the Western world has an aging population and a sub-replacement birth rate. Whereas in West Africa, we have the fastest growing young population and the fastest growing college-educated population in the world. And if we were just to take a step back, let's put our biases to the side for a second. Who, despite all the problems that might exist today, we're going to step way back away from those small problems we deal with. Which country is going to do better? The one where all the people are getting into debt and can't afford kids, or the area where they have all the natural resources, growing population, where everyone's or where a majority of people have the ability to be educated? Now, we can criticize a lot of West Africa. People will say, if they're from West Africa, well, the jobs aren't there yet. And I get that. On an individual level, that is completely the case, but we're going to the macro level. We got an area that has the resources, has the population. That's where I'm betting on.
Wow. Okay. I watched one of your videos where you were analyzing the changes in the Ghanaian city vis-a-vis the US dollar and what benefits they currently have with the current system. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, one of our big, and I'm gonna have to take a drink real quick.
Sure.
Because we're gonna dive into this one. One of my
go.
big roles with the developments in West Africa was managing what we call currency risk. You don't want to agree to sell your property denominated in a different currency if that currency was going to go down. Okay. And in one of my earlier videos, I warned against writing contracts in the euro and the US dollar. And I like that it's out there for people to see. I said that the first quarter of last year, watch out for this. They're printing a lot of money. Just look out on your contracts. And the developers I work with, they all heeded that warning. And they put that in their contract, provisions for the exchange rate. But here's what happened. The US likes to prop up their economy with a lot of debt. The way they can issue this debt is by expanding the money supply, which is colloquially called printing money. When they print money, it causes inflation. Ghana did not print. They printed money. There was inflation.
Yes.
They just didn't do it to the extent that they did it in America. And that's what led to Ghana at one point this year having a 40% gain on the US dollar. Just imagine that. Imagine you wrote a contract in the US dollar, and then it turns out you're getting 40% less than you thought you were getting. That's why we have to manage the currency risk so much in new home development, particularly when we're selling to the diaspora.
Oh, makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
So Ghana's they weren't good for about a 5-year period in terms of managing their currency. They caused a lot of inflation. And what ends up happening is there's a temptation for the central bank of Ghana to print money to pay for projects that makes politicians look good. However, the new administration in Ghana didn't do that, not to the degree they had done it in the past. And we saw that kind of actualized in the currency markets.
Okay.
And this, I think, does very well for the purchasing power of Ghanaians, particularly at a business level, where now the businesses in Ghana, they're able to purchase more with a stronger relative currency, and that helps with new home development. Strong currency is good for us when we're buying stuff from overseas.
Yes. Wow. Wow.
And trust me, I know the audience is going to say that they still had inflation. That absolutely did happen. I'm not discounting that, but we're talking about relative terms compared to America.
Alrighty. So would you say, is this a good time to invest in Ghana?
In short, yes. Anytime you're investing in an area where there's a large growth year on year in value-added manufacturing, and there's a large growth in the GDP, I think it's a good time to invest. But there's a caveat. There's always a caveat when we say, is this a good time to invest in this?
Okay.
You have to understand it. I mean, you have to understand the markets. You have to understand, why you're investing. You have to have a proper business plan together. When people ask, where should I be or where should my role be in Ghana? When you're working in any industry that is working with value-added manufacturing, real estate, logistics, and developing industries, that's a great place to be in. But it's not a cheat code, all right? It's not a cheat code. You still have to be on the ground. And that's where I think a lot of investors maybe fall short, is because they want to have an area where they just throw money and then the money just prints back out to them. If you want that, buy a rental property. That's what you do. But to really benefit from the growing economic sectors of Ghana, you got to be on the ground and you got to learn what you're doing. And too many people want to do the cheat code method.
Yes.
You gotta go all in. You can't go in halfway.
Wow. So how then does the Rohrstream manage for Ghanaian related transactions? If someone in Ghana reaches out, they want to do purchases and things like that, wouldn't you guys need someone on ground?
And that's what we have. So you can go to montgomerygh.com. We have the sales team right there on the ground, and we absolutely can help them out.
So, Brad, there has been an accelerated global interest into Africa from world powers.
Yep.
Like the US, China, Russia, and many other Western countries. Why do you think there's that rush lately?
People, natural resources. See, when we have what is defining the world economy right now, when everyone has the same technology, when everyone has the same supply chain, what differentiates those independent systems, whether it's Europe, Turkey, Middle East, Russia, or America? It's going to be the resources that you have. How do you dominate in the EV market? You got to have materials to have those EVs. And so for a long time, the US was just the default. We were the brand name. It was like we were Nike. And we could do whatever we wanted to. Okay, that was cool for a while.
Yeah.
But what's happened is we've got countries now that are offering what some people believe is a better partnership. And that's where the BRICS thing comes in. America came through very strong for a while, offering technology and loans, but more now than ever before, African countries don't want to be in a debt trap. They've seen what's happened to countries like Kenya and Nigeria, what a heavy debt load has done to those countries. And what African leaders are asking for now is, can you do a partnership for a nuclear power plant so that we can power manufacturing? And really, whoever has the best relationship with Africa is going to be at an advantage over the rest of the world. And so I sometimes question now is an alliance with Europe, if you're an American, how important is that? Well, Europe basically does the same things that we do, right? So if, I like Europe, right? But they're in many ways a competitor. We make cars, they make cars. We make tech, they make tech. I think we make better tech, but they're competing with us in these global markets.
Yeah.
Africa, if we have really good relations with them, not this nonsense that we have right now, but if we had a true partnership, there would be no one that could stop us. And that's where I don't think it's in the collective consciousness of the regular person yet, but among world leaders, oh, absolutely. Everyone wants to get into Africa, at least at that phase, because being friends with Africa, access to the resources, access to the workforce, that's the game changer from a global economic standpoint.
Wow. What are some of those African countries you think that most world powers have an eye on right now?
So, well, I think we have 54 that they have their eye on. But if we're going to start to single out who's of the most interest, I would say Zimbabwe for the lithium resources, very important. Niger and Mali, because they have a great potential supply chain for uranium. And I'd say that Nigeria is going to be the real battleground. Nigeria is probably the largest sub-Saharan, it is the largest sub-Saharan population. And to an extent, they do kind of dictate what the meta is for most of West and Central Africa. And so there is a big push to have the ear of those world leaders. And we have guys like Dangote who are now pushing like oil refineries.
Yes.
That's a big change, because Nigeria could technically, by the end of this year, be completely energy independent. I don't think they'll hit that because there's a lot of roadblocks doing it. But as Nigeria starts to refine their own oil, because you know how it's worked traditionally with Senegal, with Nigeria, Cameroon, you get your crude oil, you ship it out to a refinery in Italy.
Yes.
It's refined. Then you buy it back at a 10x markup.
Yes.
If you just sit back there, it's almost comical to run an economy that way. You instantly would think, let's just refine it ourselves.
Yes.
But that does become a threat to Western powers. And that's where the West will step in and try to influence things. Now, I do point out that this type of system doesn't benefit the regular Westerner. All right, the regular Westerner would do better with a strong, growing Africa because there'd be more people to sell products to.
That's right.
Rising tide lifts all boats. But there is this small, narrow focus of, I say, insiders, where they're benefiting from the current system and they're doing anything that they can to keep that system going. My hope is, for not just for West Africans, but for the whole world, is that we start to see more value-added activity in West Africa, makes a stronger economy, and it's more people to buy my houses.
Absolutely. That sounds really good. Now, looking at the entire continent of Africa, over the past decades, we've seen a handful of rising companies, demographic changes, educational-wise. We have more PhD holders. We have more business people. People are more knowledge inclined when it comes to dealings with the Western and Africa, especially within business. What are some of the strategies, given based off of history, that the Westerners, these global powers, can use to infiltrate or actually grab these countries, some of these countries?
Here's what happens. And for anyone who's in the audience, tell me if this has happened to your country. Young man is accepted to an elite university in the Western world, someplace he never thought he would get to go. And after going to that Western university, he gets a job at something like the UN or the World Bank. And he achieves great position there. And now he's in his late 20s, early 30s, and he comes home. And suddenly, he's got a position in the government. Suddenly, he's running for office. Now, when the World Bank comes in and says, I think you should take this big loan. It's going to be good for you. Well, this guy's been with the World Bank. He's been indoctrinated to this. So he's going to come in and bring the debt in. He's going to bring in the policies that the West wants. Because although he's African, he looks African, he talks African, his education and his formative years were all Western. And he may or may not know what he's doing. But if you were around successful people, professors, you were at the best universities, and you were shown that this Western way is the best way, you increase debt load to increase credit ratings, and that increases GDP, and that's a good thing.
Wow.
Well, what are you going to do when you get put into power in your African country?
Wow.
Now, I'm just wondering if off the top of your head, you don't have to say names, I don't want to interfere with your own personal business, but can you think of any people?
I don't even want to go there because
I know. I can put people on the spot here.
If I even tell you what country I'm coming from, you will like, okay.
It would make...
That's a long... In fact, let's not go there.
Yes, but I will say no one has said to me from the audience out here that I'm wrong.
Yeah, no. In all honesty, you have plenty of knowledge that I think we can keep digging. There's a lot to talk about. So, if we even dive in the political sphere of how African governments are handling Western relationships, we might slip here. So
we might.
Yes, Rohrstream is in Ghana. Other African countries. Are you guys thinking of extending to other African countries anytime soon? Or is it just going to be based in Ghana?
We're just going to be in Ghana for the time period. And the reason is every country is unique. It's not that you can go from Ghana to Nigeria.
Yes.
And it's just like, changing the flag. There's nuance. You need to have connections to the builders. You need to have a good sales staff. And this stuff takes time. To build those relationships takes time. And so it's very hard to spread, because you can spread yourself too thin very quickly.
Okay.
So when you have an area where you can add value to, it doesn't mean that I only think Ghana is the best and that's the only place to invest. But you want to focus your energies where you have your knowledge.
Wow. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Now, you went live on IG first time yesterday.
First time going live. Yes.
Congratulations to him. And you asked a question about investing in Ghana and here. Like, if you were to provide a property, I don't know if I'm rephrasing the question correctly, right, in Ghana and here, where do you advise the investment to take place? So, like, if someone came out fresh, like they want to invest in Ghana and here, a beautiful real estate property, which would they go to and why?
Well, it depends on their situation. So I'll answer this with a little bit of nuance. Now, yes, of course, I think that long term, if you're looking for a house that's going to go up in value, I think Ghana is the right choice. But there is nuance to this. So in Ghana, you're going to be buying with cash. If you're not a Ghanaian citizen, as of right now, it's not feasible to get a loan. So anything you buy in Ghana is going to be cash. If you don't have the cash, if you have $10,000, that's a sufficient down payment to buy a property in America. So that kind of makes the decision for you. What you'll find in America is that for a real estate investment to work, you're going to be focusing on the cash flow of the property. You're going to focus on the rate at which you pay down the loan, which is called the amortization, to a certain extent the appreciation, and any type of value add that you can do to the property. So those are going to be your four main areas. And then on top of that, you'll have your tax write-offs. So it may be part of an overall tax strategy. In Ghana, you're going all in on cash flow and on appreciation because you're going with all cash.
Okay.
And it's not like you're going to be writing off taxes. You would have to be set up as an international corporation to write those taxes off. So it depends. Now, what's the upside to investing in Ghana if you were to buy a house and turn it into a rental property? Well, you're getting in right now and you could potentially have a beautiful house by the beach for $150,000 that you can eventually retire to. That's a pretty good long-term upside. And if it makes you some cash in the meantime, that's just a cherry on top. So in America, it's just going to be raw numbers. It's disposable. It's a financial asset. Yeah. In Ghana, you'd be buying something that could be more of a legacy for your family.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Demographically, most of the clients you have in Ghana, people you sell or buy houses for, are they mostly Africans, or do you have some people from
I can give you the
here
exact breakdown on that. So at our development, 50% of our sales are to Ghanaians who are living in Ghana.
Okay.
30% are to Ghanaians not living into Ghana. About 10% is going to the diaspora.
Okay.
So people of African descent that are not Ghanaian, but they're of African descent. And then of the last 10%, about, I would say, maybe about 5 to 7% are a combination of Turkey, Middle East, and Asiatic countries.
Wow.
And about 2 to 3% end up being people of Caucasian descent.
Wow.
So that's the breakdown. Generally, people who have a spouse that is Ghanaian,
Yes.
who
Okay.
happen to be Caucasian, that tends to be those buyers.
Wow. From your perspective, what are the attractive aspects of Ghana that would draw people from here who don't even have any African descent to go buy in Ghana?
Safety,
Okay.
lifestyle, and the ability to retire. So if we look at a wealth bracket, that's between $500,000 to $1.5 million, including real estate equity. This is a kind of like the lost demographic of wealth in the Western world, because between 500 and 1.5 million, you are not guaranteed a retirement.
Wow.
If someone has less than $500,000, they're in a tough spot. If you're 65 and your net worth is under 500, it's going to be tough no matter what. But between 500 and 1.5 million, this is a range where a person would not realistically be able to have a secured retirement until they're 85 or 90 in the Western world. But this can happen in Ghana. A person who has those types of assets can have a paid off house. They can live a good life. They can be eating organic food every day. They can be, I think, have a much higher quality of life, because when you get to be in your 70s and 80s, you need help with life activities. You need someone to help take care of the garden.
Yes.
You need people who can help drive you around. You need that little extra assistance. And rather than going to a retirement home, which is what a lot of Americans do, you can go to West Africa. And I think that what we will see in the next 10 years is that's going to become much more common. I think you're going to see a lot more white people in West Africa coming to retire.
Please come home, come and retire in our homes.
I'm
waiting for you.
And it's just, I mean, it's not going to be, I think that they will find that they love Ghana, but I think what's going to entice them to make that transition is that they can actually enjoy their better years.
Okay.
They're not going to, I had a client who we were talking to, and this is a little bit of a non sequitur, but I'll roll with it, who actually said to me, she was in her late 60s, she said she hopes she doesn't live past 82. I said, that's interesting. You don't want to live past 82. I'd want to live as long as I could. And she says, well, no, that's probably when my money will run out. Could you imagine living your life, getting to retirement age, and you're thinking to yourself, I hope that I expire by a certain point because I'm worried my bank account might go to zero and I'll be destitute. This is not sensical to me. That's the type of person where it's like, we recognize the problems. Ideally, you could stay in your hometown and everything would be taken care of. But if that's not the case, and your choice is between, I'm going to have to die by 82, or I can live as long as I want to in Ghana, I'll choose to live in Ghana.
Go to Ghana.
I'm going to be eating tilapia all day by the beach.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be playing golf. I'll be enjoying activities. I'll probably be a lot healthier because I won't have processed food.
They'll eat Ghanaian jollof rice.
Oh, I will always lie and say that Ghanaian jollof rice is the best.
Well, which one do you think is the best?
Well, everyone will say Nigeria or Senegal, but it's actually Cameroon. They're not the best.
Woo! if we're in Cameroon, I would have reached out to the chief of my village to give you a red feather. The red feather is like the medal of valor that Donald Trump gives someone. So thank you for saying that. Now, let's come back a little bit from Ghana.
All right.
Yes, we might go there a little bit. You have plenty of knowledge. You are a compendium of different aspects in your head. Did you learn all of this from school, or is it just from the daily livings of life?
No, you can't learn a lot of things from school. School can provide a kind of like a foundation that you can build on, but it's always going to be out of date, and you're always going to be learning from professors who got their PhD 30 years before they taught you. You need to learn from just talking to people. One of the nice things about social media is the sheer number of people that you interact with just expands your knowledge base. If I mispronounce a name on one of my videos, you better believe I get corrected on it. as you go through life, I think that life experience overrides all formal education. And historically, I mean, the way we get taught right now, sit in a classroom, have a teacher talk at you while you copiously write down notes, that's a modern invention. And if you look at the history, like even if you go back to America's founding fathers, people were taught by tutors. You were always taught one-on-one. You were always taught through mentorship. When a person is being groomed to be a CEO of a major company, what happens? Do they take them to CEO school? Now, I'm not talking about MBA. That's for like the low-level people.
Yes.
But if you're being groomed to be a CEO, you're going under different people who are in the company. You're learning each aspect of that business. You're being taught one-on-one. So when the stakes are the absolute highest financially, where we're dealing with big companies, they're learning one-on-one. They're learning from people. They're learning the way that you're talking about learning.
Wow. Well, and this is all about the everyday university, because we truly learn from everyday lives of people. So this falls perfectly. Now, are there some books that you've read that have brought you this far? And what are some of them you can recommend to the upcoming generation?
Well, we got a couple up there. Books are not going to take you from point A to point B, but they can provide some kind of structure.
Okay.
If you wanted to have a real estate company, you got the Power Broker up there. That's a good one. If you want to do public speaking, you have Dale Carnegie. But you know what? You can read Dale Carnegie cover to cover 10 times. Until you actually practice. You get out there and you fail. You have your ums and ahs, and I got nervous because there's a bunch of people in the audience.
Yes.
You got to go through and just do it.
Wow. Action.
Yeah, absolutely. Just ready, fire, aim. Just get the suck out of the way.
Yes.
Go ahead, be bad. You're going to be bad at anything that you do the first time, so just get it out of the way as quick as possible.
Wow. Wow. I heard, and this is one thing we hear from most of the guests we have on the podcast. Like once they have an idea, they just take action. They don't procrastinate. They just
do it. You'll figure it out later.
Wow. Make the mistakes and learn from them.
Yeah, I wouldn't put yourself in a bad financial position, but I don't think businesses take a lot of money to get started in most cases, unless you're doing some big manufacturing business where you need to have a lot of capital. Any business that you start, you can start just by building a customer base,
Yes.
and then figuring out how to service them later.
Wow. Makes a lot of sense. Wow. What's the best financial advice you've ever had?
Follow your key performance indexes and don't try to be too smart and clever. So one of the things is when we're thinking about business, we always think about that day that we make $10 million and all these clever things that we're going to do to kind of work around the market and provide better value. But in reality, it's all about the individual units of business. Whatever your product is, I have a product of X. You got two components. You got your time that's going to take to service this client, and you have your cost to have that thing exist. Well, once you have those two components, you limit your time as much as you can, the time investment that you have, and you try to do it as many times as possible. And it sounds cliche, right? Yes. You figure out how to make $100, you do it 1,000 times, you got $100,000. But it really is that simple. You just have to follow what led you there and be honest with yourself and not don't reinvent the wheel. Don't try to be the cleverest person in the room. What works? Let me do that as much as I can.
Wow. Makes a lot of sense. And for someone out there who doesn't understand the meaning of KPI or key performance indexes, how can we break it down?
All right, let's break down key performance indexes.
Yes.
Well, we start with what we want, which is customer gives us money, right? Let's say the end result of this course of action is a customer gives us $100 for whatever. It could be for cutting the lawn. It could be for giving advice or selling a course. Okay, how many people do I need to talk to in order for one person to give me that $100? That's your KPI. If I have to talk to 100 people to get that $100, then my KPI is $1 a call. And you don't want to, and so the idea is you want to have the efficiency and conversion rate as high as possible and the payout on the other end as big as possible.
Wow.
And if you follow the numbers, put them in a spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be a complicated formula.
Yes.
That's where I say don't be too clever about things. Just say, this is what I'll earn. This is what led to me earning that. Let's expand on that.
Wow. Expanding on the things that work so far.
and the things that don't work. I've had businesses, I thought they were so brilliant. I had ideas that I thought were great. I remember one of my first sales letters that I put out. I put my heart and soul into this letter. I rewrote it over the course of weeks, and it was 3 pages long, and it described in detail how good I was and all the things that I did. And I sent this letter out, and nobody called me from it. And then I put another letter out almost in anger. I just said, okay, we'll buy your house for cash. This is back in my 20s. I mailed that out. I got a ton of phone calls.
Okay.
So you see, if I was so obsessive with being smart, because that letter I still think was a great letter. I can't believe no one called me on it.
Yeah.
If I kept rushing it out and I didn't follow the key performance indexes, I'd have burned myself out. But I tried something else that I thought was stupid. Wow. I still think it's stupid. I think it's a sloppy message, but it worked.
Wow.
So me trying to overthink things and putting my own values on the performance, it would have held me back. I just let go of that, and I just followed my KPIs.
Wow. Wow. I mean, that's a wealth of knowledge right there. Wow. Now, over your entire career as a realtor, a CEO of the Rohrstream, do we have a count of the deals you've had so far when it comes to closings?
How many closings have we had?
Yes. Is there a count on that?
Yeah, it's we're talking all the mortgages, everything else.
Yeah.
It's over 1,500.
Ooh.
So,
okay.
Yeah, the mortgage company will close probably about 250 this year alone. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's definitely worth receiving an award.
Well, it's a lot to get to that point in terms of following our KPIs. So for us to get a lot of people to use the mortgage company, we have to talk to a lot of real estate agents, and we have to continually stay in touch with them, and we have to continually manage our back end so it can handle the workflow.
Wow.
And that's when people say the devil's in the details. That's where the devil is.
What are some of the worst moments in your career?
Worst moments in my career, God, the first time you lose a transaction that would have made you a lot of money. You know, the first time that happens, when you've counted the money in your paycheck. And I'll tell you the story. Is I had a client named, I'll call him Dario for this one. And we had a deal locked in for $800,000, and they were going to pay me $24,000 in commission for that. And I think all parties were good with the numbers as they were, but I pushed the deal a little bit too hard. I pushed for an extra $5,000, honestly, just to show that I was a good negotiator.
Yeah.
Deal didn't work. Client was upset the deal didn't work. I got fired for that deal.
Man.
Lost $24,000, and there was this like pit in my stomach. I can most liken it to heartbreak. And you're just like, 15 years later, I remember the entire scenario like it was yesterday. And that one hurt. And it reminded me, again, going back to what I said before, don't try to be too smart.
Okay.
You got the deal in front of you, close it. Just get it closed up. Don't be clever.
Don't be too smart. Will you say don't be too greedy? Would you consider that as greed?
I know it wasn't greed. It didn't benefit me at all. I was showing off. I was showing off
that
I could win every negotiation.
Okay.
I was too clever to lose.
Makes a lot of sense. Wow. Man, you're too clever. Let me take you to the everyday university classroom.
All right.
And ask you questions that are not tied to any book.
All right.
Any particular university. So let's see how you perform on this.
All right, I'm ready. This is going back to school for real, right?
Back to school with no textbook or references.
No textbook, okay.
Yes. So let's see how this goes. They're pretty straightforward though, so don't be worried.
Whenever they say it's going to be straightforward, it's not going to be straightforward, guys. There's some everyday university advice.
Yes. So pretty much it's the way the game works is we'll ask you rapid questions, and you just give us rapid answers that are instinct based. 30 seconds max.
All right, this is how people get in trouble, but let's have some fun with this. Let's see if I have some hot takes I'm not intending.
Yes, each answer is going to be a lesson that was never taught in school.
Let's do it.
All right. So round one. Again, welcome to the Everyday University. Classes in session, all textbooks are closed. Question for you, your preference, school or everyday life?
Everyday life.
Check.
I haven't seen any millionaires in the most university parking lots. Have you?
Gotcha. You're perfect. All right. All right. Degree or experience?
Experience.
Reason for that?
Unless you want to be a doctor, they're not going to teach you what you need to know in school. If you, with all due respect to the professors, I'm sure every single one of them would like to own a business and would like to not be relying on a W-2 paycheck. That's no disrespect to them, but in reality, they don't have that skill set. They have important things to teach. This, again, not disrespect.
Yeah.
But if we're talking business, it's experience.
Oof. All right. Mentor or mistakes?
Oh, mentor. Oh, for goodness sake. You don't want mistakes.
There you
Have a mentor. Like the lessons from a mentor, if you have to have a good mentor. A good mentor is, you're gonna have mistakes regardless, but you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to have a Dario situation where you, for your own fruition, push for a deal to be a little bit better and end up blowing it up. For young guys, I tell everyone the Dario story. I tell it to them. They'll find their own mistakes. Just don't make that one.
There you go. Alrighty. Books or real world ideas?
Real world ideas. I mean, books can give you a blueprint, again, in the same way a mentor can. But oftentimes a book can give you, it can give you false motivation.
Yeah.
You get out there, you sell your business, you get the suck out of the way. That's way better than reading about a sales book.
Ooh, makes a lot of sense. It's true to say entrepreneurs are created from ideas, not from books. So that's true.
I say they're created from pain.
Ooh, that's a better way. I'm adding that to my words of vocabulary. All right. Security or calculated risk?
Oh, calculated risk. When people say security, they're talking about taking no risk, work a job. How many government workers thought that they had security?
Oh, especially what happened this year.
Absolutely. So take a calculated risk, because you're going to take it no matter what. It may as well be the calculated risk that you chose.
Wow. Okay. Let's go to round 2 of the questions.
All right.
This one has to do with your global thinking capacity. Strong currency or strong asset?
Strong currency.
Why?
You can always import assets. You can always work out a good trade deal. But if you don't have a strong currency, if there's a lot of inflation, the people will continue to be poor. It'll be hard to do business. I can listen. If we ever needed lithium in Ghana, we can always call Zimbabwe. But if we mess up our currency, then all the businesses suffer.
Wow. Oof, that's a good way to look at it. Local market mastery or global diversification?
Local market every day of the week. If you can handle a local market, that you're guaranteed to have a good standard of living, right? If you're selling to your local community, global sounds good because you have a global marketplace, but you also have global competition.
Okay.
Imagine being in the computer chip industry and you're in a global marketplace and someone undercuts you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. Okay. It's a good way to look at it. Now, US dollar stability or emerging market upside?
In what regards?
Based off of any break.
Okay, I would say emerging markets, because there's a place for them to go. The U.S. currency, it's only stable insofar as it moves in lockstep with other currencies, but the overall purchasing power of the U.S. dollar has gone down. I think it's 97% since 1913, and it may be lower than that right now. So emerging markets will always have more upside, but it does require local knowledge.
Sounds great. Next question. Africa now or Africa later?
I want to see Africa in 10 years. I want to sneak peek at what's going to happen out there. It's great right now, but I think that we're not going to recognize West Africa in 10 years. I think it's just going to be so much more developed. And I think that the development that we have now that's only benefited sort of the more wealthy individuals is going to finally be benefiting the regular people. And that's my hope.
Oh, alrighty. Luxury property or land control?
In America, land. I don't believe that we have luxury property in America. I think we have a bunch of big stick-built houses that are just larger, and they're only really valuable because of restrictions on development.
Yeah, you expanded on that a little bit earlier, which makes more sense.
You said rapid fire.
Yes. Okay, all right. So I saw your analogy on the Wakanda series.
Hmm.
In one of your videos, you talked about the story with Eromose.
Hmm.
Yeah, and how powerful his storytelling is and how it's shaping Africa. But it has been used here how do you think Eromose could be could use that to his advantage?
Well, I think that the mistake that Aramosi had made was being integrated in the Western media
Yes.
industry when he should have been controlling his product and his intellectual property from start to finish. And I think he could have done much better in Nollywood,
Yes.
because I feel that when you try to go as a Nigerian, no matter how good you are, you come to kind of to a Western world, at least in entertainment, it's like they already have their established cliques.
Yes.
And they're seeing your ideas as something that can be harvested. And if they've got to give you a little something for your ideas, they'll give it to you. But it's going to be to harvest. But
Yeah.
I think that African stories should be told by Africans. I think
true.
that they should control their intellectual property, and they shouldn't have their stories told through the lens of a Hollywood conglomerate.
That question came because I just thought of it. It was not part of this question. So
Okay.
yeah, let's go back to the questions. All right. So, all right. Now, in one sentence, just explain, give me an answer to this. All right. One lesson real estate taught you about life.
That you will find out exactly who a person is when they're under pressure. People will have a different personality on day-to-day life, but when you put someone under a pressure situation, whether it's a professional, whether it's a consumer, you really start to see who they are. And real estate has taught me that in order to fully understand someone, you got to put them under a little bit of pressure.
Wow. Okay. That's a good one. One book everyone should read.
Let me look up there. I would say, if you're going to do that to me,
Yeah.
I will say my one book that you should read just for the fun of it is Apollo's Run, which my good friend has written. But if we're talking about in a business sense, I would say if you want to get technical, I would go to The Intelligent Investor. If you wanted to get into speaking, I think Dale Carnegie. I think those are all good. But if I was to read one book, I'd find the industry that you're most interested in. I'd find out what that book is, someone who's done really well, and I'd read it cover to cover and internalize it.
What's one habit that shaped your success?
Scheduling, putting every single thing down into a calendar and blocking time, because time can get away from you so quickly, because there's always someone who wants some of your time, and until you block off your time, it's very hard to say no. And when you block off your time, you see what you're really doing. And so many of us can sit there, and you can sit in an office for 3 or 4 hours and feel productive, but what did your calendar say? What did you actually get accomplished? Put everything down into a calendar, and then you can look back at the end of the day. Did what I put in my calendar lead to the productive outcome that I was looking for? And then you can adjust. It's a KPI.
Yes. Wow. Oof, that's good. And what is one thing that young entrepreneurs waste time on?
Making the cold calls and making those initial sales. I think that young entrepreneurs that I've seen, they spend a lot of time building the back end for their business. They build every single thing except for selling their product. They just have to make asks.
Yes.
Like if someone wanted to be a real estate agent, they probably know 100 people.
Yeah.
Statistically, the people are staying in their houses for about 7 years. That means that there's going to be a sale in that group of 100 people of about 12 to 13. And they might be selling and buying, so there's more. So if I was starting as a real estate agent, call those 100 people. Call them constantly. Call them until they block your number. Right.
Wow.
And if you're selling a product, call the people who need your product. Keep calling them. Keep calling.
Wow. That sounds really great. Now, if there's one last lesson that you can teach the next generation for them never to forget, what would it be?
I'll give it a general pattern. A good plan violently executed today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. If you're looking to start a business, just start it. If there's a problem, just solve it as best as you can. Just attack the problem, attack forward as quickly as you can. And follow your KPIs at the same time.
KPIs. Keep going back to the KPI, the drawing board. So, how many languages do you speak? I know you speak more than one language.
Oh, how many languages do I speak well or I speak horribly? I can speak some half-decent Spanish, some half-decent French. If I go outside of that, it starts to sound really, really horrible.
All right. This is the message you pass to the audience in each of those languages. Like, never give up on your dreams. Can you help us say that in French and in Spanish?
I told you don't put French on
Come
there.
on, you can do this. I
No,
know
no,
you
no.
can.
You put me on the spots here. So
What about
I took-
Spanish?
if you put me on the spot, I got nervous. I won't get nervous
Okay.
about sales calls, but now you got me too nervous for that one.
Oh man. All right. So what about Spanish?
You keep going on with Spanish. Podemos hablar en español si tú quieres, pero yo no hablo español muy bien. Así es muy nervioso cuando yo hablo español.
Okay. I don't know that. Whatever you said, I don't. I'm trying to learn. Now, given that you have been to West Africa and some part of Ivory Coast, and I'm looking forward to see you navigate the Nigerian and other parts of West Africa like Cameroon. I will take this rare, very privileged opportunity to teach you a short phrase in the Pidgin language.
In Pidgin language.
Yes.
Okay, I'm excited. Let's do
All right,
this.
All right. So you're gonna tell the young generation there never to give up on that dream. So you're gonna repeat after me. Say, my people,
My people,
my people,
my people,
no stop,
no stop,
no forget your dreams.
no forget your dreams.
Say, my people,
My people,
I be your brother.
I be your brother.
No stop,
No stop,
no forget your dreams.
no forget your dreams.
Thank you very much.
All right, that was outstanding. That's fun.
Yeah. So you have amazing advice. I must really reiterate on that. I want to say it's really been an honor to have you on our set. This is the 7th episode of the Everyday University.
Lucky 7.
We are always starting, and I know that we might be coming back here because you have plenty of knowledge that can help the upcoming generation. So we would love to have you there on the podcast.
It would be an honor to be here.
Thank you so much for all the time.
Thank you so much.
It's been an honor.
Take care.
Appreciate it. If you're just tuning in or watching us for the very first time, would love your support. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment into our comment sections. Let us know how we're doing so far. Let us know what ideas you have. Let us know what kind of guests you would like for us to bring on the team. And as well, give us your feedback if we're doing well. As always, we look forward to deliver to you the best off of your support to us. We don't underappreciate, we don't take your subscriptions for nothing. And once again, thank you for being a support system to the Everyday University podcast. Thank you.